So Sue Bird is named as the new managing director for the women's national basketball team. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our channel. I'm Mark.
And I'm Rob.
So, hey, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so. Hit the notification bell when you do so you get notified of our next video. Join us for Caitlin Clark's crossover. That's every Monday and Thursday, 6 to 7 and 5:30 to 6:30 with guest podcasters. It's like a sports reporters type forum. Eastern time, by the way, except for major holidays. So please join us for that. We talk about Caitlin Clark and all sorts of good stuff. So, Rob, this is how it works as far as I understand. USA Basketball controls everything. And they had a committee before for the women. And for some reason, the men didn't have a committee. They had Grant Hill doing everything. And before Grant Hill was Jerry Colangelo, who basically chose the Olympic team. It wasn't a whole committee. I don't know why the women had a committee and the men didn't. But maybe we would have avoided all this controversy and Caitlin Clark would have been on the team. In fact, I'm sure if Sue Bird was in the selection committee, she would have found a way to put Caitlin Clark on the team, even if
Mark,
it meant.
This is one of those where they like, they finally figured it out. It's about time move, because that committee, I think they got scared. That's why we were both. I mean, we were rooting for the U.S., but they got kind of scared when France almost beat them with the team that they put out there, and the people that they put on that team were not. They were just there because they have experience in this. You're here to win, so they're putting Diana Taurasi and putting an injured Gray out there. That didn't really help.
Right. Well, I'm not sure who you saying was scared. The USA Basketball, or the committee?
The committee got scared. That's why. And I think, USA Basketball. I'm sorry, Mark. USA Basketball got scared because
so that's what you. Yeah, because you said they were committing. You kind of like commingled. Say what you wanted to say again, because you made it sound like the committee was scared.
Yeah. Well, Mark, I think it was a good move. The USA Basketball got scared after that Olympics when they put on the team. They wanted their veterans or people who had experience in the Olympics, but you're out there to win. You got Diana Taurasi. She didn't play that much. You got Gray, who was hurt. When you could have put, Clark, Reese, any other younger player on that team to give them experience. I think this put a
Clark was the main point. Reese didn't make any difference. If they wanted to put her on there for development or for marketing purposes, fine. But they didn't need Reese. They needed a point guard. That's what they needed. They had one point guard. Everybody else is a semi-point guard or Chelsea Gray was a hobbled. Sabrina Ionescu didn't even get in the final game. She didn't even get into the third quarter. So obviously, Cheryl Reeve did not think of much of Sabrina Ionescu as a point guard. Otherwise, she would have been in earlier in the game, because it's 25-25 at halftime, and they were struggling. And I'll say this about the game, Rob. Like I said, I openly rooted against USA winning because I was afraid they wouldn't do anything unless they lost. And I said, but if this game scared them enough that they did something, then this was the ideal situation. It'd be perfect, because they still won, and it resulted in someone being fired, which is the whole committee. Now, that's the question. Let's go through the article, and we'll talk about that.
Right.
So I'm glad that this happened. I was afraid it wasn't going to, because, USA Basketball didn't step in when Caitlin Clark wasn't on the team and was very quiet about it. So I was saying, okay, they're just letting, the committee do whatever they want. And the committee has done this several times, as we know. We know Candace Parker. We know Becky Hammond wasn't on the team when they're supposed to. Other players should have been on the team, but because of politics, were not. And that was too much politics. And finally, the USA Basketball said, we'll just get an impartial, good person, which is Sue Bird. Even though she's from UConn, she still likes Caitlin Clark, and she seems to be.
She knows. She's watched the players. She knows the talent. So if she was on that, if it was like before, if she was already there before the committee, Clark would have been on there. 3 or 4 players would not be on that Olympic team, because she could see we need these players on our team, and this is what the Olympic team needed. There's no way that game should have been like that, even that close. 25 points from a U.S. Olympic team
at halftime. I know that's because they had no point guard, Rob, and they were playing too slow pace. And France was able to slow the game down, and they wouldn't be able to do that with Caitlin Clark as the point guard. Even if she didn't start, she could have come in and just got things going. So Sue Bird, I think, can be fair, even though I think she's going to have a slight UConn bias. I think she can be fair, and I think she's a good choice. There's no ideal choice because someone always goes to a particular college or played for a particular team. So you can't say there's nothing. I realize that. So anyways, here's what the articles. This is an article in The Athletic, and it talks about the fact that the USA basketball will announce a major shift in its structuring on Thursday when Sue Bird is announced as the managing director for the USA women's national team for the 2028 Olympic cycle, according to two sources close to the program. It said the 44-year-old Bird, who won 5 Olympic gold medals and 4 World Cup titles playing for Team USA, will take on what is now known as the Grant Hill role on the women's side, a person with unquestioned credentials as a player at every level who is largely responsible for selecting both the player rosters and coaching staff for both the Olympic team and the World Cup team. Her hiring is a departure from a long-standing structure of using a committee to select players and coaches for national team rosters and comes on the heels of a very close call for the USA women in Paris.
It is a close call. That's what I'm talking about. It shouldn't have even been that close.
Right. So Rob, I said, okay, does this mean the committee got fired? The article doesn't say that. So I asked ChatGPT their opinion on this. And I said, does this mean the committee who selected the Olympic team is fired or disbanded? With Bird's new role, she now holds primary authority over player and coaching staff selections for major international competitions, mirroring the structure adopted by the men's program when Grant Hill assumed a similar position in 2021. I actually think there was a committee before helping out Jerry Coangelo, but he had the final say, it's my understanding. So it says that this transition reflects USA basketball's move towards a centralized leadership model aiming for streamlined decision-making and enhanced accountability. While the previous committee members are no longer involved in the selection process, they have not been publicly dismissed. Rather, the organizational structure has evolved. So it's still a little vague, but it says here that they will no longer be involved in the selection process. That sounds to me like they're fired for all intents and purposes, Rob.
Yeah, it's just like they're out of there, and it's done like the article says. It's done with the politics. Get rid of. I mean, especially on the women's side. The men's side, you didn't really see too much, that much. But with the women, it's very, very catty. Very, it was even with the coach. Even with the coach, it's like that.
It says, as financial opportunities for women grow in the sport and the marketing, USA Basketball wanted to make sure it was doing everything possible to ensure the allure of playing international events remained strong, and a phone call from Bird is going to go a long way with players, one source close to USA program said. The announcement will come Thursday at Nike headquarters in New York City. So this is Wednesday morning. We're recording this. That will be tomorrow. And they talked about Jerry Coangelo, and they talked about Grant Hill. And they talked about how much success the U.S. men's team have had since they formed that committee, because they came in 6th in a world championship, not in the Olympics. But they also didn't win the Olympics one year, Rob.
Right.
The setup on the women's side will have Bird and Brianna Ross, who has held a similar role to Ford since 2021, who helped Sean Ford help the men's team. And that's what it's saying. And then it goes on to say this, a part I disagree with. Here's the part where the article becomes hazy, Rob. Along with nearly losing the gold medal game to France, the U.S. women's team was caught up in controversy, leading to the Olympics because Caitlin Clark was not on the team. The argument not to say Clark, a rising global megastar in the sport, was in part she had not participated in many USA off-season functions, and also because there were women with more national team experience who had earned the right to play at the Olympics. And that's all it says about why she was not put on the team. So those are the reasons they came up with, Rob. Those are the fake reasons they came up with.
Right. Earn the right. Earn the right. She was 4 years college, player of the year. What else does she have to do? Okay. She's played international basketball.
And that argument didn't even hold water, Rob, because they know in the past that they put the player of the year 3 times in the Olympic year. Candace Parker, Brianna Stewart, and Donna Taurasi. And so that wasn't even a good argument. And they chose a weekend, which is the Final Four weekend in women's college basketball, to have one of the camps. So Caitlin Clark couldn't attend. They knew
it
she
was
was
like
likely to make the Final Four, Rob.
it was just like they didn't want her. I mean, right off the bat, they didn't want her on the team, and then they chose the coach, the Lynx, who didn't like Caitlin Clark. So I mean, it was all against her. Then also they had people on that so-called committee that influenced Dawn Staley, to name one person, who didn't really want, because Caitlin Clark beat her beat her in the game. So you have all these people against her not wanting to go to be on the Olympic team.
The second part of the argument in the article was that the women had more national team experience who were in the right to play at the Olympics. And Rob, again, I just pointed that out. Those three players didn't have it. And Caitlin Clark played on 3 national teams, and she was the MVP of the under-19 team the last time she played. So she did have international experience. And they also made that bogus argument that international basketball was more physical than WNBA, which is my understanding that people have watched a lot of European basketball. It's 100% false. No league, I think, in the world, from what I can gather, is more physical than the WNBA. So that was just a made-up excuse.
Right.
You know why she wasn't on the team. When the Brazilian team played the Fever, you saw they all wanted to be around Caitlin Clark and get her autograph. They know that's what's going to happen at the Olympics. They know that Caitlin Clark was going to get all the attention, and that's why they didn't want her on the team, because they wanted all the attention for themselves. They were afraid Caitlin Clark was going to get all the attention. They weren't going to get any. They would have got a lot more attention overall, and they would have got some attention too if they just had her on the team, Rob.
Even the Brazilian coach, he made a nice compliment. I think we were broadcasting the game live, and I was saying, if I was the coach, I would have had her sign my clipboard. Because I'm like, she's a great player. I would have had her sign my clipboard.
If you'd get autographs. I haven't gotten autographs since I was 14, so I don't know. But I believe in it for kids, but not for adults. But who knows? If you like to get autographs, fine. Caitlin Clark would be my first choice after Michael Jordan. So if I wasn't,
what you made a good point, Mark, is that they were afraid of her notoriety. I don't know why they were just so afraid of her making an impact, which she already was. She's already made an impact on the women's game and women's college. And like we kept on talking about, just think if she was on the Olympic team, how much it would have been watched worldwide.
Yeah, I know. It's so silly. And we know all the made up reasons that they had. We all know why she wasn't on the team. Bird's presence doesn't necessarily mean the next Clark will automatically make the Olympic team during a rookie year, but having Bird as the face of the team could help smooth some of the politics and also perhaps ensure USA mini camps, a long tradition the women's team, remain well attended. Well, it would have been attended if they just didn't choose the weekend of the Final Four of women's basketball. She would have attended that one. And it wouldn't have mattered. They wouldn't have put her on her anyways. Dawn Staley was still bitter about the loss the year before in the semifinals, and she was taken out on Caitlin Clark. And that's what happened. Her undefeated team lost to Caitlin Clark because of her near 40-point triple-double.
Hopefully with Bird, the pettiness and all the politics and all this cattiness will go out the window, because she knows talent. She's actually interviewed Caitlin Clark. It was a great interview with her and Diana Taurasi during the college semifinals. So she knows talent. So she'll step in there and won't sit there and hopefully say, well, this person needs to get their 5th gold medal. So.
Right. Now, it goes on to say that the 2026 FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup will be held in Germany from September 4th through the 13th, 2026. The first event for qualifying would take place in November 2025. And that is a year out from the championships and just 6 months from Bird's announcements. This makes the naming of a coach and camp rosters a high priority in the coming months as Bird takes on her new role. Cheryl Reeve, who led the team in Paris, could be a potential candidate, but she'd be the first Olympic coach in the gold medal span since Gino Auriemma in 2012 and 2016 to coach more than one Olympic cycle. Now, Rob, I want to say right now, because she was adamant and keeping Caitlin Clark off the team, she should be fired for that reason alone.
Right. There's no way. I mean, if they're going to do a nice clean sweep and inject something new, no, we need a new coach. Hey, Stephanie White. If the Fever do well, Stephanie White would be a nice coach.
Yeah, and they mentioned Duke coach Cara Lawson, who coached the 2025 USA Women's America Cup team.
Yeah, she's going to be coaching the collegiate team.
Right. So, yes, do I think Cheryl Reeves should be out? Yes. She had her shot. She did a lousy job of helping and influencing the committee on who to select. And then she almost lost to a mediocre French team. That mediocre French team wasn't undefeated. They lost a pool game, Rob, to a team that wasn't that good. So they weren't that great either. So this is silly. She almost lost to a mediocre team. She does not deserve. I don't care how good a coach she is in the WNBA. She did a lousy job in the Olympics, Rob.
Yeah, I agree.
So, anyways, my feeling is this was long overdue, and this is a great sign because I think Sue will be fair. Sue Bird will be fair. You can disagree with the connection all you want. However, I think she'll be fair. And I think she'll be aware of the fact that people are going to afraid that she's going to favor the UConn players. And she'll be aware of that. And I think that'll even out any favoritism you're afraid of. I can't read into Sue Bird's mind. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. We already got people saying Sarah Strong is going to be on the team for sure in 2028. And maybe she'll deserve it.
No, she should be on the team. She's a great talent. I think she should be.
Well, if she develops like we think she's going to, like the best player in college basketball, maybe this year, yes, then she should be on the team because that would give her like the best player in college basketball for 3 years in a row.
I saw her play. Mark, like I said, I saw her play this past year before she started in the college with the team they had. Oh my gosh, I was like, boy, Connecticut's got a great player. I was watching them, and that's the way that's the way you form your team. The women's teams international were blowing out. It wasn't even close. The games would have been close. It was fast paced. They made layups.
Right. And so we all know that they didn't choose the 12 best players, and that argument was silly. And we know ESPN supported it because they're of tribalism. And this will be a great addition to USA basketball, Sue Bird. And I think we're going to get fairness now. And I'm glad the committee got disbanded. Not sure they got fired as much as the committee got disbanded. Because if they were fired, they'd be replaced in terms of the same committee, in terms of a committee. So to me, they got disbanded, which in essence is the same result as them being fired since they have no power anymore.
Yep. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. See ya.
See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. So I think this is great. And I'm not against the committee if the committee can avoid the politics. It wasn't so much that there was a committee. It was the committee was doing politics, and that was Dawn Staley. That was on Dawn Staley. She was the head of the committee, Rob. And this is on Dawn Staley. And they're saying, no, we don't like Dawn Staley. Dawn Staley allowed politics to get involved in this. And so she's gone. The committee's gone. We're just going to put it on one person that we really trust. And that's what this is about. They really trust Jerry Colangelo. They really trusted Grant Hill. And now they really trust Sue Bird. And I have a lot of confidence. And she's young enough, Rob, that she can hold this title for a long time if she wants it.
She's young and has basketball knowledge, Mark. And she won't let all that stuff get in the way. She's going to be like, okay, I want the best players out there for the Olympic team. I don't care. I'm not going to worry about this type of – even Connecticut, I'm going to put the best players on this team because we want to win. And
they want to grow the sport.
Right.
They lost a great opportunity in the 2024 Olympics to grow the sport internationally. It also hurt it nationally too, Rob, because a lot of people in the U.S. would have watched the Olympics if Caitlin Clark was playing. So they really hurt the growth of the women's sports, at least in basketball. And now they're going to correct that. And players like Caitlin Clark will no longer be kept off the team because a bunch of old hags are jealous. That's what I want to say. Just so it's clear, even though the article talked about the first event was a qualifying for the FIBA World Cup in 2026, they do not have to qualify for that or the 2028 Olympics because they won the gold medal in the previous round of each of those events, Rob. So they don't even have to qualify. So she doesn't have to choose a team until the 2026 FIBA Cup. She doesn't have to choose a team for the 2025 qualifying round, Rob.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we're almost, well, what is this? We're a little over a year away from that. So anyways, so that's what's going to take place. So they do have to play though in 2026, and they're going to have to choose a team for that, Rob. And I think Caitlin Clark will probably make the team. What do you think?
Maybe. No, she's on it. She's definitely on it.
It will be interesting to see who Sue Bird chooses for that first team for the FIBA 2026 World Cup and how she goes about selecting those particular players. Will she have camps? Will they have exhibitions, scrimmages? How will she choose them? Because it won't be so easy. And it's a tough job. And is she going to choose the 12 best players or is she going to choose 12 best players for the team? And we'll find out. we'll find out what Sue Bird has in mind and what criteria she uses for that. So let us know what you think. I think this is fantastic news. And I always said, look, if the committee gets fired, I'm okay with them winning that gold medal. If they didn't get fired, then I'm saying it didn't do any good because they needed to get fired. They needed to get fired. So I'm glad now they won the gold medal. And I'm glad that the committee got disbanded or fired, however you want to word it. And this is great for U.S. women's basketball. And I think Sue Bird will help take the politics out of it.
I think it's an about time move.
Yeah, it's way overdue. So, all right. Anyways, I think Sue Bird would not be petty, and that's why they chose her. And Lisa Leslie would have been a pretty good choice also, Rob. She seems impartial also. If you like this video, hit the like button, and feel free to share it with your family, friends, and acquaintances. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so. We're going for 7,000 subscribers, and we need your help. Join us for Caitlin Clark's crossover every Monday and Thursday, 6 to 7 on Mondays and 5:30 to 6:30 on Thursdays. And it's like a sports reporter site forum, and we have great debates about Caitlin Clark with guest podcasters. If you want, you can donate to this channel with super chats and super thanks down below, and this link to PayPal. We'll see you in the next video.
Peace out.